Now, I've lost count the number of times people have said to me, I'm scared, Mark. It's too big, Mark. I don't know if I'll be able to manage it, Mark. I don't know if I'll be able to fit it in. I am, of course, talking about book sizes. If you thought I was talking about anything else, then you've got a dirty mind and we'll probably get along fine, so feel free to like and subscribe to this channel. Hello and welcome to Book Time with Elvis with me, Mark. And on this channel I talk about books, and mostly classics and non-fiction books. And I'm talking about book sizes today. And for some reason it does seem to matter quite a lot to people. They feel intimidated, and in some cases rightly so, in other cases not at all. I mean, there are plenty of times where a small book under 200 pages is even more intimidating or difficult to get through than a large book of 1,000 pages plus. I think it really comes down to what the author does with the work they've got and how you're able to get on with it. Maybe that sounds very obvious, but I think a lot of people necessarily don't think that. They look at a book the size of one I'm reading at the moment, which is Les Miserables. It's 1,400 something pages, and they think, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to manage that. Whereas they might take a smaller book. I haven't read this one yet, but it was a small book that I had to hand, and they might think, oh, that's easy, I'll fit it in. But, this could prove even more challenging, perhaps. It all depends on what you want to do with it and to what extent the size of the book or the length of the book matters to you. Now, there are, of course, practical considerations to think about. The size of the book, obviously, is important when it comes to the space it takes up. If that's a problem for you, then, of course, you can always read on a Kindle. I mean, you can keep on here hundreds of books. You can keep an entire library, and it doesn't take up any space. So that's really not a problem. Time management is also something else that you need to consider, of course, when embarking on a big book. Do you have the time to read it? That's what it comes down to, I think. You need to make sure you can fit it into your schedule. If you plan to read, 6 books this month and 2 of them are over 1,000 pages, it's going to be challenging. And if you hold down a full-time job or something like that, you might find it very difficult to manage. Reading 1,000 pages plus isn't a problem if you're somebody who's used to reading 4 or 5 books in a month. Those books themselves are probably between 250, 400 pages, maybe even 500 pages. So you're reading 2,000, 2,500 pages a month. Perhaps you're just concerned over the quantity of the books you read. Thinking that if you only manage to read 1 book in a month, that you haven't achieved much. But if you've read a book that's 1,300 pages in that month, and you would normally have read, maybe 5 200-page books, then you've actually read more, haven't you? So although you can't tick off as many books from your TBR, the amount of reading you have done is certainly higher. So that's something to be proud of, and that's an achievement that you've succeeded in doing or making, what would be the right word there. So I think the key is not to be intimidated. The key is to accept the book for what it is and get on with it the best you can. Now, sometimes you will struggle, of course you will. I mean, there are undoubtedly giant chunksters and mammoths and things out there which are extremely difficult to get through, and you probably might not even want to finish it by the time you get halfway through them. But there are also a lot of wonderful books out there that are massive, and they will feel like, you finish them in no time. Unfortunately, that just comes down to luck or listening to the recommendations of people that you trust when it comes to recommending books for you. People perhaps on the channels that you watch, friends that you have, or people that you read with, family members, whatever. Don't judge the book by its size. In the same way people say don't judge the book by its cover. I think that's very important. You shouldn't judge your ability to read a book by the size of that book or how long that book is, because you might surprise yourself. And as I said, there have been, even for me, many cases where, a 300-page book has proved even more challenging than an 800 or 900 page book. It all comes down to the pace and speed of the story, or how much you're able to take in of that. Value for money may also be something that concerns you. You might think to yourself, well, hey, look, I'm paying, $6, $7 for a book this size, just don't take this book as what it is, just as an example of the size. And, you're paying double the price, for a book this size. Well, this book is definitely much more than double the size of this one, isn't it? I mean, this is 101 pages, this book. This is 1,400 pages. So you might think, oh yeah, I'm getting a lot more book for my money. You certainly are. You're getting a lot more paper for your money, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're getting a lot more from that book, right? So that's also something to consider. If you're thinking, of course, about the cost aspect, and the type of book that you want, and one of them, of course, is going to occupy your time more and entertain you more because it's bigger and whatever, then I think that's a valid concern if you have to make the choice between two books. But generally speaking, you just don't know. If you've never read that book before, you cannot say, I'm going to get much more from this book because it's 1,000+ pages than I am from this one that's only 100 pages or so, 200 pages. You just don't know until you read it, and it's perfectly possible that smaller book will give you much more than that larger one. So in the end, I think it all boils down to experience, personal preference, like many other things in life. You take on what you feel you can take on. But the thing is just to remember, be open-minded, be open to trying new things, and don't be intimidated by size or length of books, because you may be surprised at both ends of the scale. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave your comments down below and let me know what you think about the size and length of books and whether or not you're intimidated. And if you have any reflections on on my own thoughts that I presented to you today. I mean, there's probably nothing, of course, revelatory there, but sometimes nice to think out loud with my good friends here on YouTube. So enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you very soon indeed. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.